Hello and welcome to the No Flipping Excuses Show, the only podcast in real estate investing that teaches what you need to know to find and flip deals right now. Wow. Break free the chains that are holding you back and join us on this episode with Jason Lucchesi.
Hey, what's up? It's Jason Lucchesi and welcome to the No Flipping Excuses Show. I am so excited that you are here with us today. We have another exciting show lined up for you. We're going to be discussing some great tools, tips, and tricks that you could be using in your real estate investing business. I have sent out a really cool email to some close friends of mine that are in the real estate space, and I have lined up over the next few episodes some really cool professionals that are doing some amazing things in their business. And today I've got my good friend Tamera Aragon with me, and she's been doing real estate for a very, very long time. She's been extremely successful at it, and I wanted her to come on and discuss with you some of the things that you could be doing in your business, because a lot of what she's going to be sharing is, very simple stuff that you could rip off and duplicate in your own business as well. So without further ado, Tamera, how are you doing?
I'm amazing. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I'm glad that you were able to register and sign up so that we can have you on here. I know both of our schedules are super busy. I know you told me before we hopped on here, you've got a lot of projects going on in the works. So glad we were both able to find the time to get this on the calendar.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here and honored that you are having me here. I've heard amazing and know you have a huge success in this business, and so excited that you share what you share with others out there. So thank you for putting together this podcast.
Absolutely. So Tamera, for folks that don't know you, I know we've done stuff in the past together, but for folks that aren't familiar with you, why don't you kind of give them like a brief background of yourself, how'd you get started in the business and kind of like where you're at today?
Brief, huh? Okay, I'll try to keep it brief.
Well, you don't need to keep it super brief, but keep it, to where, folks know about you and, they have a good insight on you.
Well, I'll just summarize, when you listen to speakers talk and they say they lost their health, lost their mother, their brother, that's where I started. So I was a millionaire business owner by the age of 20, wow. Lost everything after that, without going into a lot of details. Got in a car accident, got super sick, was in bedridden for a long time, and lost everything. Wow. So I was on my way back up, and I walked through I was somewhere in an airport, and there was a book on the shelf, and it was 1 Minute Millionaire. And I pulled the book off the shelf. I just called my name, read the book, and it talked about some things I could do different in my life that I hadn't attributed to. I was raised in a middle-class family, okay. Not really a lot of guidance for how I built that $1 million business. So I was really thought when I had all that, I was all that in a bag of chips. Nothing was going to stop me, right? And then everything did. So this new way of thinking was, wow, I can go out there and do something if I don't just put all my eggs in one basket. Yeah. Basically what I got out of that. And then the writers of that book held a seminar not too far from where I lived, even though I had absolutely no money. I drove up there for that free seminar, and they put out that call to offer, like I'm sure many of your listeners, and I'm sure you, Jason, probably at one point heard, hey, for only $5,000 or $10,000 but for $40,000, you can spend the entire year with us. And here I am sitting with no money in my bank account hardly, and trying to figure out how to do it. Well, I don't know how I did it, but I raised my hand and said yes to a $5,000 program that I had no money for. Yeah. So I went and did the best thing I ever could have done in my life and called a friend after I raised my hand and was supposed to walk back with my credit card and asked to borrow $5,000 on their credit card. I knew I needed it. I just needed it. And, sometimes you got to do that. You got to stretch out of your comfort zone. And I think that probably was one of the biggest lessons that I get to pay it forward to the people that I work with and around me, is that, it's not easy. It's not always like what just gets laid in your lap.
Right.
So So I actually did do, this is where a lot of other people stop too. Like Jason, you work with a lot of people. How many times do you work with people and they don't do what you suggest?
Right. It's
Yeah.
it's unfortunate, but the percentages are, it's not very strong for the folks. With having the training programs and doing podcasts and helping people, they don't understand that this is actually something that's going to take a little bit of hard work, some sweat equity, and the percentages of people, not succeeding is very high. And it's because people like that security of being at like a 9-to-5 job. And I get it. You could still be successful at this business and, still have that 9-to-5 job until maybe you get that first deal done, or maybe you get that first few deals so you could take the amount of income that you've earned over that period of time, and now you could quit that job. But a lot of folks, they fail to plan. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
they fail to act.
Exactly.
And plan.
Exactly.
Take the steps.
Yeah, most people plan, but you nailed it on the head. They don't act.
Yes, they want to, but they have all the excuses in the world, which we all have. I mean, every single day you wake up and there's something that's going to come at you that's probably going to give you a real good excuse to stop.
Yep.
And so I dealt with that same thing. So that was probably the biggest step I took, was that first step.
Yep, absolutely.
The next thing is, over the next year, I was working a pretty good job, actually. Ended up getting a job making 6 figures, my only job in my life. And by the end of that year, it took me a while because I was working that, which, I want to encourage people, when you only have a little bit of time after work. I was a mother, a wife, I was still healing, and it took me about a year. But I have to tell you, after that first deal, I quit my job the next day.
Nice.
That first deal was a good one. And it was it's kind of a funny story that people hear, and it's hard to believe it's true, but there wasn't a lot of foreclosures at the time. And I was actually sending out, maybe 20 letters a month. Now it's just such a different place.
Right.
And handwritten letters and knocking on doors when I had time.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't have as much internet stuff back then. I think Craigslist came out after that, and some of the techniques we're able to use. That's all I do now is online virtual. I've spent 3 months in Fiji and closed 5 deals from over there.
Nice.
So and so I want to, say that things are so much better for people right now to do this virtual way of, and I did rehabs from over there. So
nice.
But to start, it didn't start that way. So I got this call. This is a good story, actually. I got this call from this guy, and he says, I'm ready to sell my house. Come over. And I'm like, yes, I got it. I get to go get a deal. So I didn't even ever know how to do a contract, right? And
Yep.
I feel like sometimes this is a stopping point for people, is the paperwork. This was always like when I would listen to people, I'm like, how come no one ever talks about how to fill out these dang contracts? And my $5,000 program only got me group coaching.
Oh yeah.
So I couldn't run a contract past somebody. I had to figure.
I had that same problem though too.
Yeah. So I had a friend who was a realtor, and I filled it out. So here's the key. I still do this to this day. In fact, just last week I went out there, and by the way, I'm doing about 5 flips a month right now. So I've done, at this point, I think I always say 300, but I think it's more like 500 or 600 deals since I started in 2003.
Awesome.
So I did 65 last year.
Nice.
And I do some wholesale stuff, and I do hold a little bit. But so I'm just going to give my little background to speed it up to today. Now let's go back to that first deal. So, and I still do this today. I bring out a contract with me, filled out, ready to go. I make sure I have the seller's name, my name. I just don't fill in the dollar amount in case there's a little negotiating.
Yep.
But all I got to do when I get there is have them sign and get that dollar amount. So I get there, and again, I was nervous. I've never closed a deal in my life. I'm all by myself. And I walk into this house. First of all, it's dark. There's no electricity, and I'm with a guy. And there's a box in the middle of the room, and there's graffiti on the wall, and you know the smell.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know the smell. Those of you who've done a deal, there's always that smell, and that smell was in that house. And I walk in, and he tells me to have a seat on his box.
Oh no.
But he felt sad. I didn't feel like I was in danger. I just felt like he was sad. And he told me that he had kept, this was the second letter that he had already gotten out of his foreclosure once, and now he was back in it again. And that he kept the first letter because I had put a little cross on the bottom of it and said, I'll be praying for you. So I always had put that on my letters. So he kept that, and that meant something to him.
Oh, wow.
So he pulled it back out when he needed it again.
Yeah.
So, another little tip is put a little message on there of encouragement, whatever that looks like for you.
Sure.
For me, that was it. So he says that he wants to sell his house, and I'm like, well, how much? Another key I'll have you take away is what do you want? Very key question. Ask your sellers, what do you want? Some people go in all ready to tell them what they want, right? You're the buyer. Here, I'm going to give you this much, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. What do you want? He says, I'm just going to throw a number out because I don't really remember the exact price in my head right now, but I want $20,000. This is accurate. $20,000 over what I owe. All I want is $20,000 cash. And I had already, again, done my due diligence, knew my price in my head, and had the contract in my hand. So I could do that. Even though I didn't have a dollar in my head, I knew the number was right. I mean, in my bank account, I knew the number was right.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. No one had taught me the word wholesaling or double closing or all those words that some of you may or may not know now, but I did not know those words at that time. All I knew is the price was right and I was going to figure this out. So he gave me his price. He signed the paper. We did say a little prayer together. And then he hands me the keys to the car in the driveway and the keys to the house right on the spot.
Oh, wow.
I'm talking right then. Like, by the way, I had $1 down written on that contract.
Oh, nice.
Because that's what I was taught at the time. I mean, that was like, how many years ago was that? That was 15 years ago. I mean, I just knew we had to have something down, so I put $1 on it. Right. So he walks out and leaves me standing in this dark, stinky house with keys in my hand, with no money in my bank account. And I'm trying to figure out, now what am I going to do?
Oh, man.
I just made a promise to this guy that I'm going to take care of him. So made some calls to friends. Oh, and by the way, the car wasn't running, and he told me just do whatever. So I ended up donating it. But anyway, I did make some calls to some big backed friends and had them come over and help me take the blinds off the window and clean up the house. And this will be the long story short. We ended up selling it for $80,000 over what I gave him for it, with no money down.
Nice.
I did what was called then a double closing. So then I was able to pre-sell the house, but I didn't even know. I was just kind of figuring this out on the fly. I stuck a for sale by owners sign on the handwritten on the lawn. Nice. I mean, this is just crazy how it turned out. I netted $67,000 after I paid everyone back for what they loaned me to make that house sellable.
Oh, nice.
And that was my first deal. Now you know why I was excited and quit my job.
That's great. So you did your first wholesale deal. So let me ask you this. So you get started with this training program, and it's basically similar background to me. I had to borrow, I think it was $6,000 to get involved with the program. And so very similar. And I was in the group thing as well. So with you getting this first deal under contract, like, how did you find this person, first of all? Do you remember?
It was the letter. I had a little list that the title company would give me at the time. Now there's other places. Everybody you can get a list in a lot of different places. But at the time, the title company gave me pre-foreclosure lists. Yep. So the guy had the letter from my pre-foreclosure handwritten letter.
Yeah.
That had "I'll pray for you" at the bottom.
No, that's great. So you found your buyer by basically just putting a for sale by owner sign in the front yard.
Yes.
That's great.
And I had an open house that I advertised in an old-fashioned newspaper.
It still works.
It was just a regular buyer, and the regular buyer just went in and didn't know a dang thing about where I was at on it. At the time, things have changed now, so I wouldn't know if it would work this way exactly now. But at the time, double closings were popular, meaning I got to use the buyer's money to buy that house that I hadn't owned yet.
Right.
So I basically took no money out of my pocket and did this
that's
whole
great.
thing.
That's great. So with you being able to get this deal under contract, it was in pre-foreclosure, and you went $20,000 above that individual's initial list price. Let me ask you this: how important do you think it is to bring a contract to a new property? Like, where would you rate that as far as like an importance level?
Like almost a 10, especially for a newbie. There's nothing worse than being insecure and unsure about what to do when somebody says yes. Because when they say yes on the spot, you get that signature on the spot.
Right.
And just let me clarify, Jason, that was not a listed house. That was a house pre-foreclosure.
Right.
And the guy just called me because of the letter.
So I'm assuming you got that because your title company knew of it through like a notice of default or a Liz Pendens.
Yeah, so I had a list of, like I said, 20 to 30 woohoo foreclosures a month that I would send letters to every month.
Yeah, and back when you first got started, like nobody was really, going after the pre-foreclosures the way they were like when 08, 09, and 2010 popped up. So you were
actually they were. This was the Robert Allen times, no money down.
Yeah,
and that was this was like at the beginning of all that. So they were there. I had some competition, but I think again it comes down to what you say and how you present yourself, whether it's on a letter or in person on a bandit sign, and
right.
He just identified with me.
Sure, and I was also thinking like from 08, 09, and 2010, it was more of a short sale rather than finding somebody in a pre-foreclosure status that actually had some equity in their property. So that's really, really good. And, the other reason too that the dollar consideration was put down and works is because it's somebody that's in pre-foreclosure. I've seen it work multiple times on, individuals that are in a very distressed state. I've done $1, I've done $10. I hardly ever go over $1,000 on any of our properties, but the dollar is also, especially when I was first getting started, I may not have had that dollar. So I had to stretch everything that I could, in order to make a deal work. So now you're doing some big things. You're going off to Fiji for months and you're closing deals. How are you, getting that? How have you gotten from, where you started up until where you are now to where it's completely, ran virtually and you're able to close deals and rehab them, while you're in Fiji, which is kind of a ways away?
Well, I built a team of people around me. The term that is used sometimes is power team, but over time, I think the number one biggest thing that I feel like is so important that people like to bypass when you say virtual and online, it seems kind of cold, but number one is connections.
Yep.
I think over everything that I've done is I've got a very large buyer database and investors. And if I'm away and I want to bring someone else in to help me make it happen, I bring in another investor that knows what they're doing. So that's how negotiations were done when I was in Fiji.
Yep.
So I'd talk to them and tell them that I had a partner that's local. I'd still talk to the seller because I feel like it's my gifting is connecting with people. It's what I enjoy doing. It's the one piece that I like doing and I want to stay on.
Right.
That I have a direct mailing. It's still done. It's just done now by a company that I don't have to do anything with. And then when they call in off of my direct mail, that number is captured inside of my system. I don't know if you talk about that with others, but I have a CRM system.
Oh, go ahead.
And I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So I use Podio.
Okay.
And CallRail. So like if somebody calls in on CallRail, which is a phone system you could buy online, that redirects numbers and stuff. But I like it redirects the number into Podio. So now let's say you're a seller or a potential seller who just was curious about this letter and you call at 3 a.m. in the morning or whatever,
Right.
For whatever reason, we don't answer. I have your number now. So I have a person that I have several people actually, but a system where people call, we call back. We call and call and call. Once you call me, you're going to get a call back and a text. Hey, this is Tamara. I saw you called. I missed it. I really want to talk to you.
Yeah.
So once they call you, you can do that.
Nice.
So, so yeah, I have this new system and that's working for me. So that's how I can do it virtually. Just, I think putting systems into place is key, whatever
Nice.
it looks like for you.
Well, let me ask you this. When did you realize you needed to put together a team? Because, a lot of folks out there, if they haven't already, they need to read the book E-Myth and Traction. Those are some really great books because they help you identify that if you are acting as a CEO and you're really caring for your business as a business rather than a hobby, then you need to realize that you need to get yourself out of the middle and start doing the things that CEOs do. When did that light bulb go off for you, Tamara, to where you were like, you know what, I need to start putting together a team?
It wasn't really a light bulb for me, Jason. I have to tell you, for me, it was, my number one core reason for real estate investing is freedom.
Yeah.
And there is no way that that a person could get any amount of sleep and do the amount of tasks, from direct mail, from contracts and negotiations to marketing to, it's just, then once I do rehab, shoot, I've got 5 going right now. If I was the one that had to go, I have somebody that goes to those locations every day for me that I don't have to babysit. I call them the contractors.
Yeah.
Because a lot of doing with contractors is that.
It really is.
So, making sure they're doing what they said they were going to do. So you you bring in team members that are willing and able to do all that. So it wasn't really a light bulb for me. I love my freedom. I need to be able to do what I want, when I want, how I want. And yes, I work a ton of hours every week, but it's my choice.
Right.
I don't even is there another word for work? Because I love what I do. I really do. I don't even like that word work for what I do.
I know. I always say every day's a Friday, in my opinion, just because, everybody, when I used to, have my corporate America job at Countrywide Home Loans, I would dread, going back into work on Mondays. And now it's just like, I can't wait for Mondays because essentially they're Fridays because I don't really view what I do as work, even though we put in a lot of it. I would say yeah. We love what we do. We put a lot of energy into what we do, and we love seeing the end result of it. If that makes sense.
I have to tell you, so one of my best things about real estate investing that I love, and I still get tearful. I put so much into making these houses nice. When I do wholesales, and those are fine. Those don't make me tearful, but they bring me good money, and that's great.
Yeah.
But what makes me excited is when I get to take just a house like I just described to you, and watch someone take the keys and open the door for the first time to their home with their little baby in their hand. I literally, every time I flip a house now, I ask the realtor, one of the keys when I accept their offer is to let me be there when they hand them the keys. Just let me be there. I just get really charged up by that. So it's you're changing lives. Yep. You're changing neighborhoods, you're changing communities. And I don't care. A lot of people know those investors, stealing from. No, I do it from my heart.
Yeah.
And most of my sellers write me. And by the way, get testimonials from your sellers. There's another piece of advice.
Yeah.
They willingly write me letters. And do you mind writing down that your feelings about how I took care of you through this process?
Yep.
Because I deal with people who lost. Probate is a big one.
Yeah.
Who have lost loved ones, and I've been called an ambulance chaser by people who don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
What I'm chasing away the losers who are going to take advantage of those people. That's who I'm chasing.
Exactly. Most people, and I agree with you. The one commonality that a lot of the individuals that we have come on here is we're wanting to really help out the communities. Like I just drove to an area downtown Indianapolis where 3-4 years ago, it would have been all boarded up. But now investors are coming in. They're making them look amazing. And it's really helping out the community quite a bit. And I think a lot of folks don't realize the stuff that investors can do once we're given the opportunity. And most investors, we don't wait for opportunities to come. We create our own opportunities. And I think that's a huge part there. And I'm glad you brought up that, you're doing this to see the end result. And that is, creating a masterpiece from what it sounds like.
I have it running pretty good. So my core, and it's even back to 2005 when I started coaching others a little bit like you do.
Yeah.
Was always just to provide hope, a future, a plan for you to have your freedom. So now I get to spend more time doing that alongside my real estate investing. So, and that's really awesome. Where a lot of my time spent.
No, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. So, Tamara, let me ask you this part of the episode where we're about to wind down. What book, if you had any book like within the last 6 months, 12 months, that you feel that you would want to recommend? What's been kind of like a game changer for you that you would want to recommend?
Probably The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy.
Ooh, yeah.
Is really good. I'm sorry, he did do The Psychology of Selling. It's a Psychology of Achievement. It is a really, really good book. And by Brian Tracy, he did a remake of an old book, and it's just been remade in the last couple of years. And I've shared that with a lot of students, and they feel that's a game changer for them.
Nice.
So
The Psychology of what again?
Les Brown. Les Brown is like my man. I love him.
Oh yeah, I love playing Les Brown videos, especially like if we're doing like a training event or whatnot. I love sharing his story about what he did to become a disc jockey. It was great stuff.
Great. Yeah. Anything Les Brown you can put in your ears, and I read probably. I'm up early in the morning. I think having that morning ritual is really important. I work out 7 days a week. I'm up at. If I told you guys are gonna, but it's my time. I like my time with God. I like time to work out. I get my book audio reading.
Yeah, me too. I love the audios.
Yes, it's awesome. So I get to get it all done at the same time, thanks to technology today.
So one more time, what's the name of that Brian Tracy book?
The Psychology of Achievement.
Okay. All right. Perfect. And Tamara, for people that want to get a hold of you, I know you've given away quite a bit on this episode. What would be a great way for folks to reach out to you and connect with you?
Well, I have a 30-day free kind of email training thing that offers a ton of value. It's at REI, and that stands for real estate investing, for those of you who don't know. REI Posse, POSSE.com, REIposse.com. And then I have TameraAragon.com. I have hundreds of articles. One more I want to give out, if you don't mind, but I am super excited. I'm in my 5th year of doing what I call my 7 Days to Freedom event. And if you go to TameraAragon.com, and that's TAMERAARAGON, a lot of people spell it wrong. And then do a / and then 7 Days to Freedom with dashes between that. Number 7 Days to Freedom. There's a great webinar on what it looks like to have a life like we live, Jason.
Yeah.
It's not just for real estate, but just generally, the freedom lifestyle.
That's awesome.
That we talk about.
No, I'm so excited for people listening right now to go ahead, hop on that, and check it out. Tamara's great. She delivers tons of great content, and I would always encourage people when our individuals come on, other professionals like Tamara come on here and they share some of their wisdom, they share some of their nuggets that's working for them. You need to look at the people that have the longevity in this business. It's not just, hey, I'm going to make it, 1 year and I'm going to do this, this, and this. Tamara's been doing this for a long period of time, and, she's obviously got a winning recipe. It does take a lot of energy to get to where she is. But I highly recommend checking out the information that she just recently shared. Tamara, is there any final words that you would like to leave with our listeners?
Well, I just want to say that consistency is key. Don't give up. Don't listen to the naysayers. One of the things you're always going to hear, you can't do that. It's a bad market. It's always going to be you're always going to hear that. And just don't listen to them. Keep going and just keep striving and keep a good attitude. And it's about the journey, not the destination.
Yep.
So just enjoy what you do every day and it'll all work out.
No, that's awesome. I love it. Thanks again, Tamara, for being on here. For those of you that were on for our No Flipping Excuses episode with Tamera Aragon, make sure you leave us a 5-star review. That helps us by creating more episodes that are going to help you and your real estate investing business. Also, make sure you leave a comment. If you enjoyed something from this episode, make sure you leave us a comment so that not only myself can see it, but also Tamara can see it as well. If you enjoyed something that she was able to share with you on this episode, go ahead, leave that there for us on iTunes, or if you're watching this on Facebook, make sure you leave us a comment and let us know what your thoughts were on this episode. But other than that, if you need to reach out to us at all, you could contact us by going to support@jasonluchesi.com. That is support@JASONLUCCHESI, and that's .com. Thanks for joining us today on the No Flipping Excuses Show. You have an amazing day, and go out there and flip a deal. Okay.